It is a lovely good evening. Thank you for tuning in this evening for the Millennium Tonight program, and thank you for joining us. My name is Lovisa Chilufia, and of course we're live on your top set decoders on channel 95 on our Facebook page. It is Millennium TV Zambia. Today we discuss the Tonse Alliance and its manifesto. Is the manifesto viable? That is what we'll be discussing this night on the program. And joining me is Tonse Alliance presidential candidate, Honorable Brian Mundubile. Honorable, good evening. Welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Lovisa. It's good to be back.
And it's good to have you on Millennium TV. I think we've been trying to get to you the past few weeks. You've been very busy. Extremely
busy, Lovisa. As you know, this is an election year, and as president of the Alliance, I have to attend to many issues affecting the plans towards the elections. And of course, we're busy with the manifesto the past few weeks.
Right.
I'm happy that we launched it successfully, and I hope that you've had time to read.
We're still getting acquainted with the Alliance manifesto. But before we get into the details of our conversation, let's just listen to Honorable Brian Mundubile when he was launching the Alliance manifesto, then we get into our conversation.
Today, we do not just launch a manifesto. We ignite a national awakening, a call to rebuild, a call to unite, a call to rise together as one Zambia. Across this great country, a quiet pain has taken hold, a pain of division, a pain of exclusion, a pain of watching opportunity slip further and further away. But today we say enough. Enough of division. Enough of politics that separates our people. Enough of an economy that leaves the majority behind. This manifesto is not just a policy document. It is a blueprint for national restoration. At the heart of that restoration are three urgent priorities, which are unity, dignity, and productivity. First, national unity as an emergency. Fellow Zambians, no nation can develop while divided. No economy can grow while its people distrust each other. No future can be built on tribal lines. Today I declare national unity is not an option. It's not optional. It is a national emergency. We will confront tribalism directly, without fear, without apology. Because Zambia is bigger than any tribe. Zambia is stronger than any division. Zambia belongs to all of us. Under the Tonse Alliance, we will build a government that reflects every province, every language, and every citizen. We will teach our children not just where they come from, but what they can become. We will restore the spirit that once defined us. One Zambia, one nation. Second, women and youth at the center of national development. Today, I speak directly to the women of Zambia. I speak directly to the youth of Zambia. Our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters. Vana kulumutinta nemisepela pamakasa. You are not on the margins of this manifesto. You are now at the center of this manifesto. For too long, women have carried this nation quietly tirelessly, yet without equal opportunity, equal recognition, or equal power. That ends now. That ends today. Under the Tonse Alliance, we will expand access to finance for women, women-led businesses. We will guarantee greater representation of women in leadership. We will also guarantee greater representation of youths in leadership. We will protect the dignity, safety, and economic power of every woman and every youth. Because when you empower a woman, you empower a family, you empower a community, you empower a nation. And let me say this clearly. The rise of Zambia will be carried on the strength of its women. The third is industrialization as the engine for jobs. Fellow Zambians, we cannot talk about development without jobs. We cannot talk about dignity without income. We cannot talk about the future without opportunity. Our young people are ready. Our workers are capable. Our resources are abundant. What has been missing is leadership that connects all of this into a working economy. That is what this manifesto delivers. Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what the Tonse Manifesto delivers. We will industrialize Zambia deliberately and aggressively. We will move beyond exporting raw materials and begin producing finished goods. We will build industries in agriculture, in mining, manufacturing, and indeed the energy sectors. We will support local businesses to grow, compete, and employ. Because true independence is not in politics alone, it's economic. And under Tonse, we will build an economy that creates jobs, not just statistics and graphs. To the youth of Zambia, you are not the leaders of tomorrow, you are builders of today. This manifesto is your opportunity, your platform, your future in motion. To every Zambian listening today, this is your moment, not just to hope, but to act. Not just to believe, but to participate. The Tonse Alliance is not just asking for power. We are offering purpose, a united Zambia, an empowered people, an industrialized economy. And so today, as we launch this manifesto, we do not whisper our intentions, we declare them loudly. We will unite this nation. I will repeat that. As we launch this manifesto today, we do not whisper our intentions, we declare them boldly. We will unite the nation. We will empower our women. We will empower our youths. We will build an economy that works. Together, Tonse, we will rise above division. We will rise above struggle. We will rise into a new chapter of Zambian greatness. May the good God bless you. May God bless our women. Wana kulumutinta pamakasa nemisepela. May God bless the Tonse Alliance. And may God bless the Republic of Zambia. Thank you very much. One Zambia! Today we do not just
Right, and that is Tonse Alliance presidential candidate for 2026, Brian Mundubile. They are launching the manifesto of the alliance, and so many promises to the Zambian people. You speak about industrializing Zambia's economy, honorable, of course, women-led businesses and youth employment as well is something that you promise in that manifesto. Let us speak to, I think in the manifesto as well, there's something about governance and Christianity, Zambia being a Christian nation. Let us firstly start with Zambia being a Christian nation and how you intend on restoring that declaration that was made upon Zambia as a Christian nation, because right now we're at a place where a lot of Zambians feel that I think we've lost it as Christians, even even the declaration itself doesn't even hold any weight as for us as a country. Let us speak to how you intend on restoring that as Zambia being a Christian nation.
Yes, thank you, Lovisa. As you rightly pointed out, Zambia was declared as a Christian nation, I think sometime in 1996, if not mistaken. You will agree with me that beyond the declaration, that declaration was actually embedded in our constitution. It's actually in the preamble of our constitution. And other institutions to support that were built. One of them being the Ministry of Religious Affairs and National Guidance. And at the same time, there was a declaration of the National Day of Prayer. And beyond that, President Edgar Chagolung went further to even start building a house of prayer. So beyond the declaration, there are institutions around that. Now, when you go back to the manifesto, we are talking about national restoration. Why are we talking about national restoration? You find that when you look at what is happening in the country, it does not reflect, the things that are happening do not reflect a Christian nation. There's been departure from our Christian values. So number one, in terms of restoration, is to bring back the Ministry of Religious Affairs and National Guidance. Number two, ensure that we restore the rule of law, constitutionalism, and our democracy, as it were. How does that impact on this declaration? The departure from Christian norms are on account of the fact that today's government does not respect our constitutional order. And the examples are bound, but it's a discussion for another day. So once we restore our democracy, once we restore our constitutionalism and bring back into being the Ministry of Religious Affairs, you'll see that we will begin to implement the provisions of Article 8 and provisions of Article 9 that would speak to our national values and principles alongside. Yeah, so that is one way that we're going to enhance the implementation of the Christian values.
Under the leadership of President Edgar Lungu, there was an argument about the Ministry of Religion, and that it wasn't even serving its intended purpose. And other people felt, there wasn't any reason to even form that ministry because what was its core value?
Well, first of all, if you go to Article 8 and Article 9 of our Constitution, you find that we have our national values and principles embedded in those provisions. So there had to be a channel through which this could be implemented. But as the situation is, all you have is the president coming twice a year to come and give progress on the implementation of national values and principles, as it were. Right. But the actual vehicle to ensure that these are implemented is not there. Under the Ministry of Religious Affairs and National Guidance, for instance, you found that our national motto, our national anthem, and all those the values and principles were actually being inculcated in our various institutions across the country. Yeah, these are very fundamental, to our citizens, so that they have a sense of belonging. They know, the anchor upon which the country is built. So maybe, Lovisa, at that time, people didn't see the significance of a particular ministry, but the absence of that ministry is now being felt. You just told me yourself that people don't feel, it doesn't feel like we're a Christian nation, going by the many things that are happening. Today, Lovisa, you read of stories, you get news from South Africa that the remains of the former president have been unlawfully withdrawn from the morgue and taken to some unknown place. Looking around, you are later informed that the lawyers went to court and they've obtained a court order for the return of the remains, the mortal remains of President Lungu back to the morgue. And even that is ignored. Later, you are told that a post-mortem was carried out in the absence of the family. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we intended to avoid as a Christian nation by having a Ministry of Religious Affairs and National Guidance, so that Zambians subscribed to some values. Zambians subscribe to Christianity. In a country that looked at national values and, implemented Christian values as it were, you cannot have a situation like one that happened in South Africa. Especially that these particular moves were spearheaded by leaders of our country. What has become of this country? It's a source of concern. I mean, out there on the street, Lovisa, many people actually shocked with what transpired. They are wondering what has become of this country, as it were. Yeah, so I want to tell you that under the Tonse government, will ensure that the implementation of these values are channeled through the Ministry of Religious Affairs and National Guidance.
You speak about the House of Prayer as well. One of the buildings as well that was criticized under the reign of President Edgar Lungu under the Patriotic Front. And the question around the House of Prayer was that people have got churches that they go to congregate. Why put up a house or a national house of prayer for every Zambian to go and congregate there?
Remember that there comes a time when we want to bring all the churches together to worship as one. And many a time it has happened in open ground, in the showgrounds. Now, to add dignity to the unity of the church, the National House of Prayer was created. It's a symbol. It was a symbol, especially that our land is a blessed land. Zambia is not an ordinary country, Lovisa. You must know that. It's a blessed land, and because of that declaration that was made, meaning that our Lord God, Jesus Christ, views Zambia differently, is able to see it from a distance as a country that distinguishes itself. So institutions, like I said, had to be built around that to strengthen that particular declaration. So to avoid going to open grounds and finding convenient venues each time we wanted to come together, a House of National Prayer was created.
Let's quickly move on to speaking about some of the issues that you speak about in the Alliance Manifesto. Let us start with youth unemployment, which you say has surged to a staggering 20%, bringing about teenage pregnancies. HIV rates have gone high, drug abuse as well. Let us speak about what plans you actually have for the youth in the country as Tonse Alliance candidate for 2026.
Yes, youth unemployment going over 20% is an emergency. It's an emergency that needs measures to quickly and expeditiously look at that. So number one, we'll move the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Ministry of Youth, to State House.
Why so?
For accelerated implementation of programs. So because it's an emergency, you know that even in cases when we've had emergencies in droughts, disease and others, State House has stepped in to the Vice President's office. So we are treating this as an emergency. So when you look at youth unemployment, the measures we are putting in place across the sectors. We are looking at youths in agriculture. We are looking at youths in mining. We are looking at youths in energy, youths in creative arts, youths in digital economy, amongst others. So these youths, to start with, I took a position. I'm not Bali, because Bali means father, and a father would look down upon the youth. So I'm going in as big brother. Because I'm going in as big brother, I'm not necessarily, I'm saying my government. So we are not telling the youths what we're going to do or what we should do for them. We are asking them what we can do together. And when you interact with the youths, you discover that they actually have solutions to their challenges. We talk about the digital economy. They know what needs to be done in the mining sector, especially when you refer to small-scale mining. They know what needs to happen in creative arts and so on and so forth. Yeah, so number one, we include them in leadership. If you look at Tonse, we have quite a number of youths that have leadership roles, and they're helping to come up with ideas of how best we can help the youths. So that's how we're going to deal with that.
When you say you don't want to tell the youths what you're going to do for them, rather they have to tell you what they would want you to do for them, doesn't that just leave an open-ended type of situation where the youths now have to think, what do Honorable Mundubile and the Tonse Alliance do for the youth of the country? And of course, especially at a critical point like this one, when we're going towards the 2026 general election, how then do you lower the youths into voting for you in 2026?
Now, what we've done, Lovisa, we are not waiting until we get into government. Remember, in coming up with the manifesto, we had the actual interactions with the youths. We've been to areas like Mtendere, we've been to areas like Mandevu. We find youths that are in metal fabrication. We sit down with them, together with our youth leaders, to find out what can best work for them in those particular areas. We discovered that one, they need equipment. Two, they need further training so that they're able to produce quality products, as it were. So being able to sit with the youths, Lovisa, for instance, where we have agreed to say the youths in Kalingalinga, in Mutendere, in Chawama, doing metal fabrication and woodworks, we will be able to come up with mega factories. Okay, in these factories, we fit them with equipment, list to the youths. Okay, I'll give you an example where we are here at Long Acres, maybe a factory from the Long Acres roundabout to the High Court roundabout. Okay, and be able to fit youths in these mega factories. They are maybe 1 kilometer long. So others are doing metal fabrication. Others are doing woodworks. Others are just assembling desks, furniture, whatever it was. Within there, government also includes a Bureau of Standards. Okay, we would have trained the youths in quality checks, such that at the end of that factory, you've got very clean furniture. So as government, we can now come in and say, with a policy that all furniture in government departments will come from these factories. No more importing furniture. All government departments will purchase furniture from them. So what would have done, Lovisa, is that we would have empowered the youths with the equipment, would have empowered them with training, would have empowered them with finance, and on the other end, we've also provided market for the products.
We've got a lot of mushrooming businesses on the market right now, Honorable, and I don't think government itself would be able to buy from all the SMEs or all the business owners in the country. One of the issues that you speak about, that I like that you've spoken about, is that of access to finance and access to markets. But what about those that are not making furniture? There are people that have own salons right now, those that own barbershops, what about them? Those that would want to expand their businesses and they're looking to access finance and just, grow their businesses. How do you intend to help them?
Okay, when you look at the broader terms, I've just given one example. I can give you 2-3 examples before I go to your question. As government, we also come in with the policy of aggregation. Let's take, for instance, tomato farmers. And these are youth growing tomatoes. There must be an aggregator sitting whether near Soweto or any other market to be able to pick up markets from products from them. If you go to the market now, Lovisa, you find that tomatoes are going to waste. Farmers, young farmers and youths who are growing tomatoes did their part, but they're unable to sell these tomatoes because maybe there's too much of tomatoes in the market and the tomatoes go to waste. Yet effort and money has gone in. So many of them are actually losing capital through that. So we can't afford to do that because we need to encourage our young farmers. So again, introduce a formula of aggregation where there's an aggregator who basically collects. This is government sponsored. Collects and buys these tomatoes at the right price so that you don't have a box costing 200 today, the following day is 50 kwacha. And yet the planning was based on maybe a price of 150. This will encourage our young farmers to grow more. The same will happen with chickens. There'll be aggregators at every level. Small scale mining, whether they're mining gold, they're mining the aggregators. Because what has happened, Lovisa, is that in all these businesses that our youths are doing, there's been no government intervention. Government completely withdrew, and our youths became vulnerable. So under the Tonse government, government will have a role to play. Remember, the key there is employment creation, direct and indirect jobs. So even when you talk about small businesses in markets, like saloons and barbershops. There are obviously specific empowerment programs that are coming in through Constituency Development Fund, empowerment programs through CEC. What the major challenge has been of late has not been lack of empowerment. There's been empowerment, but there's been no market. They've been unable to sell their services. Why? Because there's no money. There's just no money. So that's the reason why the first is to expand the economy. Once we expand the economy, we expand the economy through employment creation. People have disposable income. Even a person running a saloon who initially accessed some empowerment fund is able to work because they've got people coming to their salon, people coming to their barbershops, as it were.
We've got Bali, as you've said, who's a father and calls himself a friend to the youth in the country. We've seen how he's interacted with many students on the Copper Belt here in Lusaka. Even just the other week, he was with the UNILAS students. Just yesterday, students from Levi Mwanawasa were chanting Bali, 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 and even putting on UPND regalia. As somebody that is aspiring for the Zambia top job, when you see the youth of the country that you also want to work with so eagerly, and they're chanting Bali, Bali until 2031, how does that make you feel? And what different approach would you take from the one that Bali has taken with the Sotsana, with the youths?
Well, the difference is that we've got a solution on the table. We are coming with a solution on the table, what we're calling a social contract. We are signing a social contract with the youths of Zambia. That is the reason why for us at Tonse Lovisa, we don't pay students to attend our meetings. We have evidence of other leaders going to deposit money with the principal, deposit some T-shirts, and then compel students to come and attend the meetings. Why? Because along the way, pupils, students, and the youths in general felt betrayed by some leaders who previously promised them that they'll have solutions for them. And 5 years later, they're struggling to assemble meetings with the youths if they don't pay them. So we don't pay youths to come and attend the meetings. We simply have put our solutions on paper. And we're saying this is our blueprint, and this is our commitment, this is our social contract. So our youths understand very well that we are very determined, to create employment. And we have, we have very simple solutions as to how we are going to we're going to expand. We're going to expand the economy. Before we go to big things, where we're going to bring in graphs, formulas, we're just dealing with the basics. Okay? Yeah, we are not so much into graphs, which would later confuse citizens, as it were.
You've got the tables.
No, just simple solutions. For instance, let's look at farming. Okay?
Right.
Our objective is to shift, from rain-fed subsistence agriculture, to commercial agro-industrial production. Okay, as a solution. We identified agriculture as one of the sectors that can create employment for the youths and the women. In Bemba, we say, so we're looking at the low-hanging fruits. Agriculture is one of those sectors.
Right.
So when you look at the binding constraints in this particular sector, because that will be your next question, why haven't others done it? We are starting we have our objective. We look at the binding constraints, and we've identified, for instance, drought, vulnerability, low irrigation, low mechanization, and poor storage, weak rural roads, and limited finance. So our policy measures in that area will include a national irrigation program. We know that every 5 years there's a drought. At Tonse, we've actually identified that. Normally, the election year coincide with a year of drought. This has been happening over a period of time. So in shifting from the rain-fed subsistence agriculture to commercial agro-industrial production, we'll introduce a national irrigation program. We're going to introduce farming blocks with power, water, roads, mechanization, leasing, agro-processing parks, warehouse receipt systems, crop insurance, export standard labs, among others. Okay? So with these measures, Lovisa, we expect to have higher rural incomes, food security, agro-export growth, and poverty reduction. So these are just some of the examples. We would go on, insofar as job creation is concerned. We are looking at the mining sector, where we are moving from extraction to mineral-based industrialization.
Before we get to mining, Mr. President, let's talk about national irrigation program. How do you intend on implementing it? Because the UPND has also, been speaking to irrigation, winter farming, and all of that. How do you intend on implementing the national irrigation program?
Well, of course, the UPND have been speaking about it without a structured approach to it. You see, when you look at agriculture, you don't look at it in general. Okay, there's need for a structured approach to it. Even when we've had drought, it has not been drought, throughout the country. So we are looking at agricultural zones. We segment the country into agricultural zones, understanding the climate in those particular areas. So the areas that stand at risk, okay, are the areas we start with to implement this program of national irrigation. So you're dealing with cooperatives, okay, encouraging them to get into commercial agriculture, because that's when you get the benefit for it. So this country has got 10 farming blocks, 12 maybe.
Which would you take in that regard? Because I think years back, one of the issues was about distribution of farming inputs that were not distributed on time, and people sharing fertilizers in medas and all of that. What different approach would in an event that the people of Zambia voted for you into office, what approach would you take in terms of ensuring that farming inputs are delivered on time and then the people of Zambia get to work before the rains hit so hard?
First of all, we'll move away from giving farming inputs in medas. We'll strengthen the e-voucher system so that farmers have a choice of what to do with this help that we're giving them. But then we'll improve and increase on the quantum of support to the farmers. For one reason, the design of FISIP is such that after a number of years of being on this particular program, a farmer is supposed to graduate and be independent. Now, farmers are unable to graduate for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is the quantum of support. Fertilizer in MEDA Okay, let's say 6 bags, if you like. Somebody argues, no, Meda, the truth on the ground. I'm a member of parliament, I know what I'm talking about. Fertilizer has now been given in Medas. So even up to 6 bags, there isn't enough support, so to speak, for a farmer to graduate. So we improve and increase the support of quantum of support to the farmer, maybe from 6 to a number that will be agreed upon with the experts, so that for a limited period they remain on the program and graduate, and another team joins. Why government is struggling is that they are unable to win off the farmers. They remain on the program in perpetuity, and the number keeps growing. So let's get an example of Kabwe, the Mulungushi textiles. So for us, we would not implement that program in the manner that the APND has implemented it, insofar as industrialization is concerned. So under the National Irrigation Program, we would have identified farmers in Kawe, Kapiri, and Mukushi, equip them with irrigation equipment, tractors and other equipment, and encourage them to grow cotton. Because then we know there's an aggregator in Kabwe, in Mulungushi textiles. So the farmers there are unlikely to fail in their activities, because then they'll be supported, for instance, with export standard labs, okay, that will look at their crop. They've got their tractors, they've got their irrigation equipment, and they've got support from government, because government is sure to say they've got a market at Mulungushi textiles. So that will be the case with many other crops. We will do what is called backward and forward integration. We support them with equipment, support them with finance, but we don't give up on them and ask them to find market on their own. We make sure there's an aggregator on the other end to be able to absorb the product.
Right. Let us also touch on the mining sector, Honorable Mundubile, and of course what the Tonse Alliance intends on doing with the mining sector, especially maybe let's align the mining with also youth employment, especially on the copper belt. That is what a lot of youth on the copper belt depend on, the mines.
So as regards the mining sector, we are looking at it from 2 angles. I'll start with commercial mining, large-scale mining. In terms of large-scale mining, our GDP today, Lovisa, is about $26 billion. At $26 billion, we largely rely on mining. When there's a shift in the mining sector, there's some instability in the economy, as it were. Now, when you look at the mine and the receipts we get from the mines, a study was done recently, and we discovered that for every $100, we only benefit 5 cents. Okay? Our benefit is 1 cent, is 5 cents. So when our benefit is 5 cents from every $100 of export in the mining sector, our economy is at 25 billion. Can you imagine what will happen if we improved our mine receipts to just even 35 cents? The economy changes completely. Okay? So number one, we've got to improve our receipts from the mines. And so to be able to increase receipts from the mines, we will move away from mining, from the extraction to mineral-based industrialization. Okay? So the mineral-based industrialization, we identified the binding constraints that included power shortages, tax uncertainty, slow licensing, and weak rail system, and low beneficiation. So this is the problem. And our policy measures that will range 15 to 20 years, 15 to 20 years mining fiscal stability compact. We are talking about digital mining cadastre. We are talking about dedicated mining power corridors, rail to port rehabilitation, and also focusing on other minerals other than copper. For some reason, you've got copper at $13,000 per ton. That's very, very high, an all-time high. But you've also got cobalt, which costs over $50,000 per ton. In our reports, the reports are focused on copper and not cobalt. Yeah, so as we are looking at greenfield projects in the mining sector, we also want to focus and look at the beneficiation from minerals such as cobalt. So we've looked at some of the challenges that are there in the mining sector. Recently, there was an SI that allowed the mining houses to export raw materials. What are they calling it? Copper concentrate, for instance. So if you look at concentrate has many other minerals in there that are not taxed. So we know that in many other countries, what happens is that as the prices of copper or prices of minerals start going up, there is normally a reduction in the smelting capacity. Whether or not that is deliberate, it's a question for another day. So that quickly governments give concessions and companies begin to export the raw materials. And when they export the raw materials, there's so many other raw materials that are contained, minerals that are contained in the raw material that may not be taxed. So by looking at the mineral-based industrialization, we'll create industry around the mining sector, as opposed to exporting raw materials in copper concentrate or indeed copper blisters. We are also looking at creating industries that will manufacture wires, will manufacture many other components that come from copper. That way, as opposed to focusing only on mining jobs, we'll also create jobs and industries that are connected to the mining sector. That's as regards large-scale mining. So we are looking at the fiscal stability in terms of measures. We're also looking at improving the digital mining cadastre so that the licensing is improved, and of course improving the transportation of these minerals by improving the rail speeds. At the moment, I think the rail speeds are below 100 kilometers per hour. Many companies would prefer to transport their products or the mineral products on road. So there's a lot of damage caused to the roads, but at the same time, there are safety issues that come with it. So we're looking at a holistic approach to improve this particular sector. So in terms of small-scale mining, that's where our people are. And when I go to the copper belt, they call me the biggie. So those are my best friends, and I go in there as big brother. So number one, we will take back our youths to Mfumbwe. We'll take back our youths to Kasenseli. These are their mines. These are mines that they discovered. We'll ensure that is it Kanyelele in Mpika and in Eastern Province, that these areas which were discovered by our youths, we are saying to them, we will take you back there. But we will not take them back to those areas to go and do unsafe mining. We will mark those areas, give out licenses, and ensure that there's an office of mine safety in that particular area. We'll also ensure that they are supported with equipment. And remember, aggregation. There will always be an aggregator. There will always be a big brother. That's the bigger formula. Okay? The big is not just the president interacting with them. You find the big brother in that particular sector that will take care of that. So whether it will be private sector led or government, there will be an aggregator right there who will be able to buy their minerals at a fair price. So how it works, Lovisa, is that there's a discovery of copper and of gold in this particular area by the youths, who quickly move in. Government quickly moves in and ensure that they form cooperatives, take stock of the people that are there, and immediately take them into an incubator. These are short courses where they'll be trained on environmental protection, they'll be trained on safe mining and financial management, as it were. So government has done its part. It has provided licenses, it has also provided training, and at the same time has also provided an aggregator. So there will be a great shift in this small-scale mining. This sector will actually be formalized into be a formal sector, because they will be renewing their licenses, they'll be paying their taxes, and they'll be paying their NAPSA for their workers. They'll be paying the pay as you earn, as it were. So we'll formalize the small scale mining sector through government intervention.
What do you make of the suggestions to put up a gold reserve or selling gold to the Bank of Zambia?
That's exactly what this aggregator will be doing. The aggregator, this is created by government. The idea is that the aggregator will buy gold from these small-scale miners and deposit at the Bank of Zambia. We are very lucky that the time we started talking about this, people thought it was just one of those stories. So when the Ghanaian president came and gave a speech in Parliament, I laughed and I said, there we are. They've been able to do it in 7 months. They've been able to do it in 7 months, and they've been able to produce gold worth, I think, $10 billion in 7 months. And you see, why we know this would happen, if you go to Mumbwa, from the information we have, produces gold worth about $5 billion a year. And nobody knows about it, apart from the top leadership of this country. They know about it. They may be mining there themselves, okay? So this is the amount of money, that's the amount of gold that there is. And all you see that, you see through the FIC reports. They will report about illicit financial flows. When you interrogate further, this is money that may be coming from the mining sector in gold and many other minerals. So all we have to do is to formalize it, to ensure that the country benefits from this particular mineral resource.
Honorable Mundubile, let's talk about the dependence on foreign direct investment. Even with our mines as Zambia, for a very long time, we've been so dependent on foreign direct investment. There's been calls that Zambia should own its mines 100% instead of finding investors and depending on foreigners to come and invest in our countries, and then we give them tax holidays and all those arguments. What approach would you take in an event that the Tonse Alliance is voted into office this August?
Well, obviously, the position of Tonse is that investors are very important wherever you go, all over the world, because they come in with capacity, a capacity in form of capital, capacity in form of technology, and of course skills. Yeah. So what happens is that what will happen in our case, we will have a structured approach in how we interact with the investors. The investors are welcome. They're welcome in existing mines and in greenfields. So the interaction should be such that there'll be deliberate policies on skills transfer. If you see the way the Department of Immigration is being managed right now, the laws are there to ensure that work permits are only given in cases where those particular skills do not exist. So what ideally should happen, the Immigration Department, working together with the mining sector, for instance, is to limit the number of workers that come in to work in these mines, and be able to limit the time that they remain in the country so that particular skills are transferred to the locals. So when we've got our own skills and we have acquired technology and we've acquired enough capital, we will have Zambians that will be running their own mines. But that is not to say you no longer need foreign investors. Foreign investors can exist alongside Zambian investors. There's a lot of potential in terms of mining in this country. So you don't have to chase the investors for Zambians to participate in mining. Zambians can also participate in mining alongside the foreign investors, as it were. Yeah. So the key there is there must be technological transfer, there must be skills transfer from these foreigners to the Zambians, so that when the government of Zambia decides to set up mines, Zambians should be able to run these mines on their own. And the private sector, because under Tonse, remember, we intend to improve beneficiation from this particular sector. So one of the measures that we're going to take will be to ensure that we introduce local value chains. We also improve the local participation in what we're calling local content. Under local content, we introduce laws that will guarantee up to 50% of business to the Zambians. So when Zambians have got 50% of business, there will be a lot of support industries on the copper belt to the mining sector. And Zambians will raise enough capital to be able to start their own mines. So foreign direct investment is always important.
Right. You speak about, skills transfer and technology transfer. We've got people that have worked in the mines for a very long time. Honorable, we're speaking about 62 years of Zambia's independence, and we're still speaking about skills transfer. What type of skills do the people of Zambia need to earn or need to learn from, our foreign investors for the Zambians to take over the mines?
No, let me clarify that question. I think the question that you asked was, are we going to chase or going to stop FDIs and just focus on the local? The answer was no. Okay? We think we still need FDI, but at the same time, we'll promote local ownership of these mines. So once we have our own mines, first of all, run by the Zambian government, certain incentives that our foreign investors are accessing will no longer be available. Because what has been happening is that they create certain challenges that may not be existing. Now, because we don't have our own minds to understand that, they are exaggerating certain situations. We are always believing in their story. So, for instance, let's say the Zambian government has also got 5 mines that they're running, and the foreign investors are coming and asking for incentives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, for us to mine. Government should be able to say, okay, we'll give you 1, 2, 3. The other 2, no, because we are also mining. I think these other 3 are exaggerated, or these other 2 are exaggerated. So we still encourage foreign direct investment. We will support the foreign investors. I think the concern by many Zambians is that there's been so many incentives given to these mining houses. I agree with the Zambians that think like that. Comrade Musokotwane in 2021 gave out incentives to mining houses that resulted in the loss of revenue to the Zambian government of about $6 billion. Okay, $600 million rather. And over a period of 5 years, it will be $3 billion. This is the money that would have used to build hospitals, schools, roads, among others. And the only reason he gave them those incentives was that they were going to improve production, from 800,000 metric tons to 3 million tons. That was the only reason. It was a very weak reason, and we've never agreed with that. So there's an issue with incentives. We must differentiate the two. Some of the incentives that they're giving out are unjustified, but not that we don't need foreign investors. We still need them. So at the same time, the Zambian government should be able to run some mines on their own using Zambian experts as control mines, so that they also understand the trends in that particular sector. But we'll go further to also encourage our local Zambians in the private sector to also run large-scale mines. The Zambian government under Tonse will support such initiatives, as it were. This is where I say that with time, of course, we've got a lot of skill in terms of mining. But remember, technology is changing every day. So we need to be updated. Some of the people that are going to work in these foreign-owned mines will also later work for the Zambian mines and the Zambian privately owned mines, as it were. So we can do more in the mining sector as opposed to leaving it up to the foreign investors alone.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to shares and Zambians owning, a stake in the mines, how much do you think Zambia should be owning as shares in the mines?
Well, through the investment arm of the CMIH, even as much as 49% is not a problem. The controlling share can own up to 51. There's no problem. But like I said, Lovisa, we're not only focused on the existing mines. There are certain mines that the Zambian government can own 100%. Greenfield mines. The new mines that will start, the Zambian government can own shares in the mine up to 100%. Just like the private actors who are Zambians should also own 100% shares in those particular mines. So we'll not limit our options to the existing mines alone. The potential is huge. There's a lot of potential in mining. You go to Luapula, they've got a lot of rich mines that are greenfield. So we'll encourage fresh investment in these mines, except that for those investors who are coming now, under Tonse would demand a higher shareholding in these mines as opposed to 20%, 25%, as it were. I'll just give you an example that we're getting 5 cents for every $100 out of this mining sector. And if you hear the Minister of Finance celebrating how the mines are doing, it's only on account of 5 cents, all right? So if we increase beneficiation, we increase our benefits based on the equity that we have in these particular mines. We also encourage Zambians to run and own mines 100%, and the Zambian government to also run their own mines. I think the benefit that we'll get from these mines will be more.
All right. Let's talk about one last issue I want us to speak about on mining is that of artisanal miners, the issue of cooperatives and how this can work for artisanal miners, and also putting into consideration the fact that these cooperatives are not supposed to be politically influenced.
See, under Tonse, the vision of Tonse, if you wanted to know, Lovisa, is to create a modern industrialized Zambia where opportunities will be available to all and not only to the privileged. And I want to emphasize that. We want to create a Zambia where opportunities will not be a preserve of the privileged. Under Tonse, you do not have to be connected. You do not have to have a correct surname to have opportunities. Today, to be able to do business in government, if somebody goes to PACRA and does a printout for the companies that you've presented for a particular bid and ensure that the names are cleared. That is coming to an end. That is coming to an end in the next few months. It will be a Zambia where every Zambian will have an opportunity to do business, whether in the private sector or indeed in the public sector. So when it comes to creating these cooperatives will be created from the small-scale miners who are ordinarily operating from those areas. Regardless of where they came from, they'll be given an opportunity. A youth from Mpika who finds themselves in Mufumbwe will be a member of a cooperative in Mufumbwe. And a youth from Mufumbwe who had traveled kilometers and found themselves mining gold in Mpika will be incorporated in a cooperative in Mpika, as it were. Okay? A youth from Monze who found themselves in Wapula looking for sugilite, and we are creating a tournament in that particular area, will be given that opportunity. So there's a lot of work that will be done, Lovisa. Maybe let me go a little further. You see, government has to have an interest in what the youths are doing. So government has got capabilities, government has got equipment to be able to survey an area. These youths were discovering gold using elementary methods. So government will move in and establish the quantum of the resource in that particular area. They should be able to say there's 200,000 metric tons of gold and be able to attract investments. One aggregator, we know that there's 200,000 tons of gold here. Over a period of time, this amount of resource that can come from there, such that when they're investing and supporting the youths, they also have an idea of what is under there. So the youths will not be given licenses where there's nothing. Government should have mapped the area and only give licenses where the resource actually exists. The reason why most of our youths are dying, you saw the holes they dig and they're just going, there's no study, okay? They're just using traditional methods to discover these minerals. Government has to step in and be able to direct the youth to say, don't go there, it ends here. So this is your area, there's enough resource. That is your area, and there's enough resource.
Honorable Mundubile, let us talk about, of course, unity after ECL's death. We've seen a lot of Patriotic Front members that are with you in the Tonse Alliance. There are others who are in the PF Pamosi Alliance. All these alliances claim that they're trying to serve the purpose and of course, honor ECL in what he believed in as leader of the Patriotic Front. As leader of Tonse Alliance, of course, and of course member of the Patriotic Front as well, how do you intend to unite the party members after ECL's death, and especially ahead of the 2026 general election?
Well, maybe just to give a brief background, Tonse is the biggest opposition coalition in the country currently. We have 16 registered political parties and 17 civil society organizations. So in essence, what we've done, there were potential presidents, 16 potential presidential candidates coming out of Tonse, or before Tonse, to go and compete in this year's elections. So we've collapsed the number to 1, to Honorable Brian Mundubile as presidential candidate. It's also possible that some of the civil society organization leaders could have attempted to go as independents. So we've collapsed 33 potential candidates into 1. So as regards opposition unity at Tonse, we've done a fair share of that, as it were. But we've continued. We're engaging colleagues that were within Patriotic Front, and there's a lot of progress that we're making so far. A few announcements, should be expected in the next couple of days, weeks, as regards how we are coming together as, leaders who once were in PF together, and along the way, through competition, went to different organizations. We are talking to each other. We are planning to come together so that we can create a critical mass or force that should be able to participate aggressively in this year's elections, as it were.
And speaking right, what about your manifesto? It looks very attractive, Honorable Mundubile. It carries probably what the people of Zambia want to hear, and of course what they want to see coming actualized. How do you intend to roll out this manifesto in an event that after the August 13th general election, you are the people's choice, you're the one that they choose to preside over the affairs of the nation? How do you intend to roll out this manifesto? Especially, I think, some of the pressing issues that of stabilizing Zambia's economy, youth employment, women also owning their own businesses, and all of these issues that you speak about. How quick are you going to implement these things?
Well, ideally, a manifesto, especially the Tonse Manifesto, is actually a social contract with the Zambian people. So what the manifesto should do, Lovisa, is that when you craft your manifesto and sell it to the Zambian people, the people buy into that manifesto. When you form government, that becomes your Bible. That becomes your guiding document in the implementation of the government policy. And luckily for us, the 8th National Development Plan is coming to an end this year, meaning we will be now looking at creating or crafting the 9th National Development Plan. So the Tonse Manifesto will form as a policy document that will inform the 9th National Development Plan. And you know that yearly budgets are actually extracted from the National Development Plans. So according to the Budgeting and Planning Act, the yearly budget, which will be the budget starting from 2027, will ideally come from the 9th National Development Plan. Now, because of the time, that plan may not be in place by that time, because the budget will be debated this year. When we get into government, we'll debate the budget in October. So we may have to extend, or we may have to revise the 8th National Development Plan towards the end to accommodate the Tonse Manifesto. And as we migrate to 9th National Development Plan, it will be informed by the Tonse Manifesto. So when you talk about rolling out what is provided for, so these plans will go through the National Development Plan, but will also come out through the budgets. They'll be implemented immediately, in short.
Right. Honorable Mundubile, let us talk about the recent occurrences in Pretoria, South Africa, where the former late president's remains were moved from Two Mountains morgue to an unknown, destination. And of course, revelations that it was the Zambian government that moved Isiel's body, and of course later on went ahead and had a post-mortem done. I think you touched on this topic earlier, but we didn't go into details about it. Let me get your thoughts on it.
Yes, I think the reading of that makes some very troubling concern to every Zambian. We have since made a call to President Hakainde Hichilema to explain exactly what led to that. We have questioned who exactly sanctioned the movement of that body, because there was no order, there was no court order anywhere, not even in South Africa, that permitted them, or the Zambian government, and some of the officers from the South African police to move that body to and some unknown destination without the involvement of the family. We are aware that even in the earlier order, which was later halted, the body should have been released to a sheriff. It was a sheriff to decide, or not to decide, to then hand it over either to the family or the government. So in this particular case, the whole case was mishandled. Well, maybe by design. It was done unlawfully. The body was removed from the morgue and taken to some unknown destination. We were comforted a few hours later when we heard that there had been a court order that ordered the Zambian government to return the mortal remains of President Lungu back to the family, only to receive information a couple of hours later that the Zambian government had actually sanctioned a post-mortem on President Edgar Chagwa Lungu's body without the presence of the family. So we are gravely concerned with what transpired, and we have asked for answers from President Hakainde Hichilema, because what happened there is un-Christian. It's un-Zambian, and it's something that makes all of us very sad indeed.
There are arguments that forensic autopsies do not require family consent. What do you make of that?
Well, there was no court order to order that particular autopsy. It's a matter that was still ongoing in court. Had it reached that stage, the family would have known. So to bring in technicality and attempt to dodge the gravity of the matter is most disturbing. We actually warned the agents of the UPND to stop trivializing this particular matter. You'll understand that it's taboo. It's a complete abomination for people to access a deceased body and deal with it in the manner they did in the absence of any family member. So there was no order of court that allowed them to do what they did. So there should be no excuse whatsoever. They should not bring in technicalities of autopsy and investigation that will not hold any water at all. These matters were closely followed by the family lawyers, as it were, and there was no such an order. So what transpired really was an abomination, and we want to call upon the Zambian people to go down on their knees, really, and begin to pray for this country. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of suspicion as to what exactly led to the post-mortem, the illegal post-mortem that was conducted on President Lungu's body. And that is the reason why we've called on the traditional leaders to come out and speak. We've also called on the church that they can't remain quiet anymore. Not now. They cannot remain quiet. And instead, let them voice out. And not only should they voice out, we want to call upon the church to summon Christians across the country to go down on the knees to pray for this country. We do not know what exactly led to that illegal post-mortem, but we also know that there's been a lot of stories and rumors bordered on rituals, as it were. If that were the case, and because President Lungu was the head of state, we would want to pray for the country so that whoever took advantage of President Lungu's body does not misuse it or use it in a way that will be detrimental to this Christian nation. So as Christians, we want to pray and be able to break all the yokes and bondages that will be created from any rituals, if at all there will be any, arising from that illegal postmortem.
Mm-hmm. What message does this send to the outside world about Zambia, especially that this matter has been ongoing for 10 months now, almost a year from the time that the sixth Republican president died on the 5th of June 2025, and he's still yet to be buried. And of course, there's all these speculations around, his death is still going on, and now, getting his body from the Two Mountains mortuary and taking it to an unknown destination and conducting a postmortem, even without the consent of the family. What message does this send to the outside world about Zambia and just our leadership in general?
Well, first of all, we are an international embarrassment, and these actions actually go further to confirm what we've always said about leadership failure. There's total failure in terms of leadership, and it's exposed through actions such as these. So the international community know that we are a total embarrassment, not only to ourselves as a country, but to the international community too. But to the Zambian people, it's just some further confirmation of total leadership failure, as it were. Mm-hmm. But also, as a country, we need to heal. As Tonse, we have said, we'll prioritize two things. Number one is national unity. Number two is national restoration. Restoration in a number of areas, including the area of Christianity, as it were. If the country is restored insofar as Christianity is concerned, you can't have a situation like the situation we had in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Some of these things are coming out because we have departed from Christian values, and we began to espouse other cultures, other traditions, and other beliefs. That's the reason why the country would want to hold on to the mortal remains of President Lungu for close to a year, mm-hmm. With a motive, which motive has now been exposed. So we need prayers as a country. We need restoration. We need a national reset, a national renewal. We cannot continue like this. This indeed is a curse upon this country, and a curse that has got to be exorcised. Mm-hmm. Zambians have got to pray. Our call, as Tonse said, is Zambians should get on their knees and begin to pray. Pray for the nation. Pray for the Lungu family. We are praying for the restoration of Christian values. We are praying that the Holy Spirit descends upon this country to cleanse it wholly, so that it rids it of the many evil practices that we are seeing today. Mm-hmm. It's an emergency. It's a matter that we cannot handle lightly anymore. It's not only for the Lungu family. This is a national matter. It's a matter of emergency. All right.
Honorable Mundubile, let us also talk about another issue that concerns you. Of course, on March 19th, you were set to leave the country, and you were detained at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport and detained at Ibex Hill police station. Of course, your phones and passports were also seized. I think that the Anti-Corruption Commission, of course, also called you in for questioning. Let us talk about developments surrounding you as well as an individual. Your passports and phones seized. Do you have your phones?
I do not have my phones. They're still in the hands of the police. And they were illegally taken away from me. 7 police officers came and conducted an illegal search. They did not have any warrant, to allow them to conduct a search on my phones, and indeed later seize my passport for no reason. No reason has been given to me as yet as to why they're still holding on to my 3 phones and indeed my passport. Mm. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but that does not give the police the right to conduct illegal searches upon a law-abiding citizen like myself. So up to now, I've not been able to move out of the country. This is an election year. I obviously am expected to move in and out of the country to engage and also raise resources to use in these campaigns. And, you know, I've not been able to do that because my passport is still in their possession and my phones are also in their possessions. These are numbers I've had for the past 20 years. My friends can't reach me. I can't reach some of my friends because the police decided to withdraw the phones, as it were. But like we said, look, this will not help them. It will not help them. One thing that the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema should know is that they could disturb the movements of the messenger, but the message still remains the same. The message to the Zambian people is that governments must change. The UPND government should go this August so that there is national restoration, so that we can unite the country. The country needs national renewal. The country needs a national reset. And this will only happen when the UPND are removed from power. So yes, they've got the passport, they've got the phones. You can gag or stop the movements of the messenger, but the message is still delivered. The message to the Zambian people is the same. It's national restoration and unity. It's a national renewal and national reset. So the Zambian people are ready. They are ready to change government come August 13th. Nothing will change. Nothing will stand in the way. Yes, the Mingalatos will come, the machinations will come, but the Zambian people will not stop at anything but remove the EPND from power.
Has there been engagements with the police to try and get your phones back and the passport as well?
The lawyers have been doing that the past 1 month. And this is 1 month later. I still don't have the passport. I still don't have my phones. How
does this border on your political freedom and just freedom of expression as a political leader?
Well, of course, it's not about me. I know that as an individual I'm affected. But this reflects what's happening in the country. This is what everybody else is going through. It's either they've grabbed your passport or you've been locked up because you said something, you had a dissenting view from that of government. So it's not so much about me, it's about the Zambian people. Remember, I'm a representative. I represent the Zambian people. I'm out there as a delegate, chosen to speak for and on behalf of the Zambian people. So even as they do this, I know that they're doing this to many other Zambians. I go to remand prison, I go to police cells. There are many Zambians who've been locked up. Some have been there for over a year, and when you ask them, because of what I posted on Facebook, I was expressing myself on Facebook and I've been locked away. So the democratic space has collapsed completely. The freedom of speech does not exist. Freedom of assembly does not exist. Freedom of movement does not exist. When we say there's total collapse in governance institutions, there is total violation of human rights. This is exactly what we're talking about. When the UN concluded their report, they concluded that there were human rights violations in this country. By that time, they had not even confiscated my passport, meaning that report was based on what had happened to other Zambians, even before me. So this is what Zambians must know. I was not part of that report, and yet the report concluded that there were human rights violations. So my case came much later to just add on to what the UN secretary had actually concluded about what's happening in this country.
I know that Alliance members obviously want to be in touch with you, they want to see you, they would want to engage with you. Even just other people who would want to, be part of the Alliance or just get your ideologies and, of course, just contact you. How are they able to do so, and how are people able to reach you?
Well, fortunately, we have a fully functioning secretariat, and we have a secretary general and many other office holders within the secretariat. We have a council of leaders with over 30 leaders coming from different political parties, as it were. Yeah, so they've been able to come through them, and we at the local scene we haven't missed much. I think most of the omissions have come from our international friends who've been trying to reach out using the odd numbers. So Tonse is the next government. Tonse is functioning in all the provinces. If you go to Chavuma, you're going to find Tonse. Yesterday, I'm sure you were watching, we were marching in Ikeleng We're marching in Solwezi. Yeah, so through our offices, people have been able to come around and reach us. But of course, I want my passport back. I want my phones back. They belong to me. You know, I need to travel when I should, not when President Hakainde Hichilema wants me to travel. You know, I need to receive phone calls from colleagues, whether they are from within or outside the country, as it were. Yeah, so my rights, even if I am a competitor, the front runner in this race to President Hakainde Hichilema, I still should have my freedoms to communicate to the people that I want to communicate to.
All right.
President Hakainde Hichilema faced treason charges before. He still had his passport. Nobody withdrew his passport from him. He landed himself into trouble so many times. At no time did they withdraw his passport. He was still allowed to move, in and out of the country freely. So what is different now?
All right. Honorable, thank you so much for coming through once again.
My lady, thank you very much.
All right. Honorable Mundubile, thank you for joining us tonight on the program. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Lovisa. It's always a pleasure. And it's a good evening to the Zambian people.
All right. Out here, viewer, we come to the end of today's edition of Millennium Tonight. Thank you for joining us. Honorable Brian Mundubile, Tonse Alliance presidential candidate, was my guest this evening. My name is Lovisa Chulufia. Do stay tuned to Millennium TV. Good night.